We are live.
Hey everybody, welcome to AKA Geeks. This is Movie of the Week, continuing with our Halloween and horror movie month. With me I have Brendan
What's up, guys?
and Lynn.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, you guys. We are jumping into another week of horror films, and this one was a collection of films. And let's start off with kind of going through the list, and let's kind of say which ones we liked, which ones maybe we didn't like, because it's going to be really difficult to talk pros and cons. First one was Sweet Tooth. Then the next one was The Night Billy Raised Hell. Then Trick. Then that was okay. So I don't know. Do you guys want to give an explanation of each one first?
We should at least a small snippet.
Okay.
If you have it.
Sweet. I don't have any individuals, but I'll do it. It's 10. Okay, overall, 10 stories are woven together by their shared theme of Halloween night in an American suburb, where ghouls, imps, aliens, and axe murderers appear for one night only to terrorize unsuspecting residents. All the stories weave together, and I like it. It actually reminded me of the movie. If you guys have seen it, I think it's called The Ten Commandments, or no, it's called The Ten. I'm sorry, and that's with what's his name, Ant-Man,
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd, and a bunch of other well-known actors, and they all kind of weave together. It's an interesting way to do a movie like this, and it's pretty.
This sort of reminds me of Creepshow and
Yeah.
a lot of those anthological type.
Tales from the Crypt. Yeah.
The same. Even the old Tales from the Dark Side.
Mhm.
It's a lot like those type of things, which it definitely had that feel.
So first off, Sweet Tooth. This one was a babysitter with her boyfriend telling a kid a story about a demon, a kid that loves to eat chocolate. The next one was The Night Billy Raised Hell. It was the mayor from Sin City and his little Mordecai goblin friend causing hell. Trick was 4 adults who get tricked by a bunch of kids in very stabby ways. Yeah, gruesome ways. The next one was The Weak and the Wicked. This one was 3 thugs who killed somebody's parents, get their due reckoning, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Grim Grinning Ghost is this one where a mother is telling a story to a bunch of people at her Halloween party. One of them is her daughter, and it goes from there. The next one was Ding Dong. This is the one with the woman from she's the straight-faced woman from The Walking Dead in the garbage place, the dump, and it's like kind of a different take on Hansel and Gretel. And then This Means War is a silly neighborhood spat type of film. Friday the 31st. What was that one, Brendan?
That was the Jason ripoff one.
Yes. The one where
Okay.
it starts off.
Which side
starts
note,
off with the
I did
Dorothy.
enjoy that one. I did enjoy that one.
Friday the 31st. Next one was The Ransom of Rusty Rex, which is another small person who they think is a kid, but it's all a confusion. It's gone bad.
Another imp.
That one's starring is Darkseid from Smallville. He's also The Force Unleashed, and also the guys from the other guys from The Walking Dead. He got killed by the governor, the governor with the golf club.
Yeah, the
And,
Hispanic guy.
Yeah, and then Bad Seed was where super organic pumpkins came to life to kill people. All right, so Brendan, you said you liked Friday the 31st, the Jason knockoff kind of one. What'd you like the best out of that one? Is there anything any theme that it had, or anything the way it was filmed?
Well, the thing with the Friday the 13th slasher films, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of parody / homages, and to me, this one was like the perfect balance of like paying it respect, but also like, making fun of it at the same time.
Yeah.
This threw every freaking horror trope into the
Like,
mix and reversed
every single
it.
and did it
reversed
fairly well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like at the beginning of that one, right off the bat, the girl is doing a horror trope of running into like the building with all the weapons and the killer's weapons and all the dead bodies, of course. Yeah, no, that one definitely was able to respectfully make fun of those slasher films.
And I love the little sci-fi twist to it all too.
Yeah,
with the little alien.
I like the claymation little aspect too. That was a cool, different. Side note before we go to any further, really good production value on all 10 short films.
Yeah,
every single one had really good production value. As we were talking through them, like I said, I named people that I saw in each one. I was like, I know that person, I know that person. So they were able to get people that are out there, that are known actors. So good production value. It's hard. You can't complain about that, you know. So that's one from Brendan. Lynn, tell me one that you liked.
I have 3. That was one of them as well.
Okay.
But the other ones was This Means War and Trick. I actually thought those 2 stood out for me more so than any of the other ones. But that includes Friday the 31st as part of the 3. Those 3 stood out the most for me. And This Means War was just balls out funny. For me, that was like such a break in comparison. And if you notice, when the fight was going on between the neighbors, you see a lot of the characters that were already in stories previously, including people who are going to be in stories afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little homage to the entire structure of the film in that whole little crowd.
The cop threw up in his hands. That's the same cop who in Bad Seed came in with chocolate. And they were making the chocolate, which was from Sweet Tooth. So that was that. Yeah, no, in the last couple of them, they started bringing everybody together, and that was a really good thing. What was the other one you said? You said This Means War, Friday the 31st.
This Means War, and Trick. Trick I loved because it was at first you had no idea why these kids were doing it, and you're like, what the hell's wrong with these kids just out of nowhere? And reason why you find out at the end is deserving. And I was like, yes, I actually rooted for the kids to do it. And when the little girl at the end says her line and takes that hatchet to the woman's head, I was like, yes, more power to you.
See, I liked how in that one in Trick, that's one of mine, is how it had me going one way and I was totally rooting for the people. And then it flipped me and I was like, good, they got their just desserts.
Yeah, because I was all like, wow, these kids are just out of nowhere just hacking people up for no reason. And then as you go along, when she starts deleting the stuff off her phone, I'm like, you know what? Why was she doing that? Because it's not because her friends are dead all of a sudden. There's got to be more to it. And then they're showing the eyeball, and I'm like, all right,
you kind of wondering more. They're starting showing those pictures. I was kind of wondering, what are those pictures of?
Yeah.
They did it really fast. But I like that one. It definitely made me think and flip.
Mm-hmm.
The only one out of all of them that actually gave me chills, like in a true horror film kind of way, was the Grim Grinning Ghost. When they were doing the part where, it was when she was walking away down the street.
When she was running towards her door, you mean?
Yeah,
when she dropped her keys?
Yes, and that was the only part where I was like, I felt the horror.
I could understand that. I seen that trope used so many times. It's so obligatory. I'm like, blah. But to me, opposite that, I thought that was actually the weakest story of the bunch.
Really? Yeah, I thought that would sucked.
Yeah,
I mean, the reason I kind of see what you're saying, because the makeup and like overall like special effects in that were pretty well done, but overall I thought the story was really dumb.
Yeah, I thought it was lackluster out of the 10.
The story on that one, it's not what impressed me. What's impressing me about that one was the scene from after she got out of her car, at the end. That's what got me like ooh, this is like creepy, and that was the part that got me.
With that one, I started to say to myself, okay, first of all, that's a freaking super, a muscle car. You can tell me out of nowhere it's a piece of shit.
Yeah, and then they say a piece of crap. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the second thing is, well, it's not like she's stuck. She has a cell phone, and they took care of that real quick. They're like, no, she don't.
Right when they put the cell phone down on the thing, I was like, oh, well, that's getting smashed.
Right.
You already knew it.
Even smashed, that thing should still have power. You didn't crack it to the point that the battery's gone.
And then later on, after she finally got into her door, I was like, okay, that was like the creepiest part out of all of them for me. The creepiest horror film. But then after that, I was like, all right, so they're gonna do a horror trope right here. Like when she's in the restroom, she's gonna bend. She opens the mirror.
Oh, I waited for that too. I thought she was gonna be right behind her.
When she closed it, there's either gonna be something there. Okay, nothing there. Now she's gonna go down to get the water, and it's gonna be right behind her. I'm like, okay, it's not there yet. And then finally, when she's on the couch, she did the thing where she leaned forward. I was like, oh, there it is, and that's when it happened. You know. Yeah. And so some of these shorts, like, relied on that in a good way. Some of them relied on it in a bad way. That film where she's being chased, the short, I liked it. The rest of it was very.
See, here's another reason why I think that's one of the weakest. She was walking through a town. She wasn't, in the woods, completely out in the outskirts of bumfuck Ohio. She was in a suburb. Why didn't she just go to somebody and ask for their phone?
I don't know. That's
what I mean. I mean, like, that's one of the things that I thought was funny from it. But at the same, it took me out of it. I was like, okay, she looked like she's just walking through the neighborhood.
That's one of my things about Halloween horror movies. Also, the same type of thing happened in Bad Seed at the end.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the guy shows up right when needed with a loaded shotgun ready to go, and goes here and tosses it to her, and it's like, really, dude? And so, some of those like.
But that's another one that I thought was weak, and just like Grim Grinning Ghost. That one, that it looks like it was just thrown together just to end things off.
I actually really liked The Ransom of Rusty Rex. I think those two guys, from Force Unleashed, Dark Side from Smallville, and the guy from The Walking Dead, I thought they did really well together. They bounced off each other really well. And then the whole shenanigans with the little Rex dude, it was pretty good. And it looked like they let it all out when, they were scared of him shooting them, and the way that they were acting, it was fun. It brought me in, and I had a good time watching it.
Right. So we should mention some of the other ones a little bit more in detail since we got.
Yeah. Sweet Tooth. When that kid hears the sound of the dragging and looks over, he wakes up and looks over his bed head thing, and he ducks back down. I'm like, I totally know what that kid's feeling right there, because we've all done that before, hid under the sheets like that, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this then. In that one, was it actually the kid? Was it actually the kid who kills them, not the spirit?
No, I still think it was the story come to life. But what I get is, like, they said it was a story that was passed on for each kid, and they went through it and what have you. But he's the only one that actually has his babysitter and her boyfriend get killed, because nobody else has been killed prior. It's suddenly out of nowhere, just because he's being told the story, the monster comes to life.
Yeah.
So
I kind of thought he went went multiple personality on them. Like, at the end when he goes, "They ate my candy," I was like, okay, so it was him. It was kind of like the old Dreamcatcher thing.
Right.
Not Catcher. What's the one with John Cusack where he's split personality and killing everybody at the hotel?
Room 13.
Was it Room 13?
Room 13.
213.
213. No, is it 213?
And he thinks like he's
it's
innocent,
all in its head,
but it's him actually with multiple personality, and he actually kills somebody with a bat down their throat, I think. Yeah. Right? It was kind of like that. Like, did the kid get told the story, freaking went blacked out and went crazy on them? Because even the cops said, "Oh, the kid killed his babysitter," and while they're licking chocolate.
What during
Bad Seed, the cops walked in and they mentioned.
See, this is, to be honest, this is a movie that I would actually have Ronan watch, since he's so into horror right now, because it's so tame. It's got enough gore to just like get him hooked, but at the same time, there's nothing over the top that I'd have to be worried about. I think the most over the top thing would be Friday the 31st, because you actually see parts getting sliced off.
But that you kind of have to expect.
But at the same time, it's done in a humorous way, which at the same time, if he gets the beginning part of that and why it's happening, he'll I can see him just like getting a kick out of it. But like the night Billy Raised Hell, I sort of was disappointed with that one as well.
So was I. I felt bad. I felt bad more than anything. I just felt bad for Billy.
Yeah, because Billy was tricked. But what was funny is that the trick was supposed to be on the viewers. Because here you're supposed to be thinking that this little kid's doing all this stuff. And I said, wait a minute. This kid's way too buff, way too muscular to be to be the kid. I'm like, that is one husky midget.
When I watched it, I said, that's not a kid. That's a freaking little person.
That's a little person, but he's husky as hell because he looked like a miniature superhero with the way he was bulked up.
His legs were a little out of proportion and stuff like that. And I was like, that's not a kid.
But he had muscles.
I think there was a switch here that they're not telling us about. And then, but I felt bad for Billy in that one. I thought some of the stuff was kind of funny, you know.
Yeah.
He gets the toothbrush, makes it into a shiv, and so she shanks the dude.
Yeah.
And then they come back to that same dentist later on in one of the other films. And he's holding his stomach. What did they do?
So, was it Ding Dong?
It might have been it. They
sucked.
They end up coming back to him.
That one was like
I don't think.
I thought she was hysterical because every time opening the door, she's prepping her boobs and in different ways. I'm like, woman, and I'm like, woman, they're kids. They don't care about your boobs. Stop messing with them.
What I liked about that one is that her as an actress showed me something different than what she's providing for us in The Walking Dead. And so, seeing her, and I'm like, oh, that's the girl from Walking Dead. I was like really happy that I saw her do something totally different.
Yeah, that one was on the surreal for me. It wasn't really a good one, but I didn't hate it because I thought she was hysterical. It was just, it was just like there was something that bothered me about it. I don't know. It was the relationship between her and her husband, and all that.
What did you guys?
Go ahead.
What did you guys think of The Weak and the Wicked? That's the one where Alice and her two cronies killed, burned the people in the trailer.
And they were his folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little story of vengeance. I didn't really think it
wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was. I didn't see it much as a Halloween tale, just atmosphere-wise, yes, but that could have been done. I mean, you could have done any type of Punisher type tale with that one, and it would have been the same thing.
That one felt to me like some kind of dystopian future, like it didn't fit in with all the other movies. Like it felt like it was what's the movie where they have the one night where you can kill everybody?
Yeah, The Purge.
The Purge. It felt like that because, like at the beginning, like the girl is known by the kid that they're gonna put the cigarette out. It's like, no, Alice, don't do it. And the whole vibe of that felt like it wasn't a normal town. It felt like they like.
But the thing that bothered me with that one is that he's trick or treating, but at the same time he's waiting for them and saying, "Hey, you know,
buy a dumpster."
Yeah. So like, and then the other kid comes, with the whole dressed up in the spirit, and the whole reason is he had to be dressed up. That's it, to call forth that demon, whatever it was. Because we don't really know what it was.
And it had instructions.
Yeah.
So you guys are feeling that the Grim Grinning Ghost was weak. The Night Billy Raised Hell was weak. I felt that one was weak as well. The Grim Grinning Ghost as well. Which other ones? Did you guys like Bad Seed or no?
I liked the animation for the pumpkin.
Yeah.
But it was like, half the time I was like, what am I watching? Why am I watching this? Like, for this one specifically. It was like a little too far out. And I wanted to relate it to like Halloween 2, how nobody could understand why this was part of the franchise. So, because this came out of left field for me. Like, okay, you're dealing with overgrown super pumpkins that if they get carved up, they're gonna start eating people. So So what happens if you put a normal happy face on it? Would it just be giggling its way through everything? You know.
I don't know if it would because it might be mad because you stabbed it and took out all of its guts.
Well, my point is, that one was angry because it was given an angry face. Now, if you would have carved like a face, like one of the little designs, would have done, become that design, or like if you would have done a upside down frown, would have been crying the whole story.
Well, also that dude used a freaking really big knife to carve that pumpkin. I've never used one that big. And they do a nice little montage of him like stabbing it 20 times. Like usually when I've carved pumpkins in the past, we have specific pumpkin carving tools, you know?
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody use that big of.
Well, yeah. Well, back in the old days, you used a big kitchen knife to cut the top off, you know, to get the circle on top. That's pretty much, I think, the only time you would use a knife that big. Not for the eyes and mouth.
Yeah. Brendan, what do you think of this kind of idea of how to put together a movie? Are there any compilations or any other movies that you can think of that do this successfully?
Not that I could say successfully. This generally, like the whole like mini stuff, that's not generally something I'll watch. Mm-hmm. If I'm gonna watch something like that, I would straight up just prefer to watch like the Twilight Zone or
Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah, Tales from the Dark Side or like an actual like show. Yeah. A lot of the times, even just double features like the Grindhouse double feature, I didn't really like that. I would have rather, I probably wouldn't have watched the movie separately anyways, but it definitely, it's not, I like to watch a movie. I like to watch that movie.
I have to agree with him with one thing in comparison to the Creep Show and some of the other ones we've mentioned. This didn't flow in unity as well as those films do, because though we saw different characters and very small snippets, if you're paying attention to other things and you miss those cues, you're not going to think they're related.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I had to rewind a couple times because I was doing homework when I was watching it, and I was like, "Wait, what's going on?"
Yeah, see, so if you're not known to pick up on the cues, you wouldn't get it. Like I did. The only thing that I thought was keeping the stories together was the radio personality that started the film, and then 4 short films later you hear her, then 3 short films later you hear her again,
sporadically.
And so that's the only glue that was keeping everything together. Well, and
also say this, they all had the same, other than some of the CGI stuff like the claymation and the pumpkin, that kind of stuff, but overall their production quality was all on the same level.
I'm not taking that away from them. That's definitely a fact.
But that helps though keep it all cohesive to a certain extent.
Right. At least it keeps the look, but other than that, you don't feel as if they're all cohesive, because I expected, like I said, Tales from the Crypt and Tales from the Dark Side and things like that. There's a narrator that will come in and they'll before each snippet, so you get a little bit of understanding. So you don't have everything. It still leaves you in the dark, but you can still enjoy it better. And I think the radio personality was a little too sporadic, because
it should have done it every film.
From the Week of the Wicked, which is the first time you hear her again after the beginning, and you're already 4 films in, you don't hear her again till the Ransom of Rusty Rex. Actually, no. A little bit in This Means War, and then the Ransom of Rusty Rex as they're in the car waiting to kidnap the kid. You hear her in the background.
Yeah.
But I think that should have been played more into it, throughout a little bit more into each of the stories, to make it more cohesive, not just the overall feel and look. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did I can't recall. Last year, did we all watch ABCs of Death 1 and 2?
I didn't watch any of them.
Oh, you guys haven't seen it?
I think that was you doing those on your own.
I think I did both of them on my own. Okay then. I did one 2 years ago, and then I did the second one last year. Okay. The ABCs of Death are kind of the same thing, just using a different letter of the alphabet for each title of their film.
Right.
And I actually feel these were better than those, because those had major drops in production quality for some of them, and major rises in production quality for some of them.
Well, even VHS. Did you watch VHS?
Not yet. It's been on Netflix forever. I've always wanted to watch it though.
That's another one that's a compilation. It's a compilation of stories, short stories. But like that one, their quality's changed, so it's not as consistent either. And
that turns me off from a movie, to be honest with you.
And the only thing that holds that together is that it's VHS tapes that the individuals are watching. That's the only thing that glues everything together. Hence why it's called VHS. But I mean, yeah, there's some good ones, but this is not. I think this was pretty good, and if you got someone who's starting to get into horror, I say use this to show it to them before getting them into heavier stuff.
You can make
I'd agree with that.
Simple, short stories that are effective.
Yeah.
Lynn, start us off. What are your final thoughts on the film and a grade?
Well, like I started to say, this is perfect for those just starting to get into the horror genre. This is perfect lead in. You know, has enough jump scares, has enough plot twists or what have you to keep you satisfied, and keeps the gore to a minimum, which is always a good thing too, because horror films aren't always about gore. Sometimes just the overall imagination is enough to get you scared enough. So this does it perfectly in 10 short stories. Don't have to worry about it. I give it a B just for that alone. And I would.
You said you show it to your kids, right? You said.
I would show it to my oldest.
Okay.
Not the youngest, because he's one that he's starting to like the horror aspect and he wants to see horror films. And this is something that I can get away with and not really do any major explanations afterwards of what happened.
Okay. You said B, right?
Yeah, definitely a B.
Brendan, what about you, bud?
I would say, for me personally, I would give it a C+, just on the fact that I liked that the compilation was okay enough, but there was more. I would say if like half of them were like, hey, these were pretty good, and then these ones sucked, then I would give it a higher grade. But most of them I thought were, they were okay. But there wasn't too many terrible, which is why it doesn't get a really bad grade.
Yeah.
But it definitely had enough to where, if you don't care about what's going on and you're okay with missing things, like another one where you just, like have on it like a Halloween party, just playing in the background kind of thing, where some people are watching it, some aren't. So yeah, C+.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to go with C+ as well. I felt like the production value was good across the board, and that matters to me, especially having watched a couple of these compilations before with ABCs of Death. And like Brendan said, right on the money for me, and I'm right there with Lynn. Like there's 3 that stood out for me, and the rest of them were kind of just not so great. They were not bad. But they weren't great. So C+ for me. It's and the reason I can't go higher is because I think I've seen other films whether they're psychological horror or whatever that I've liked a lot more, and I probably only gave them a B or a B-.
Right.
And so. Like in my mind, I can't put this one above some of the other films like The Forest, some stuff like that, that I've watched over the last few years that I liked, Conjuring, and I would put in that B- and up range, So I'd say C+. Put it on in the background, watch it with friends. If you are aspiring horror filmmaker or something along those lines, you could definitely see that you don't have you can do it. It's attainable. You can make something that people enjoy.
Yeah, the Friday the 31st is a perfect example of that.
Oh yeah,
because they took
you get a bunch of friends over and do that in one night.
Every aspect of Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, any slasher film from the 80s that came up with that was the perfect one that you just see it, and then suddenly out of nowhere it just completely flips it around as, oh look, now it's the girl chasing the monster, and the monster's acting like a scared, sexy girl. Which is awesome.
And the thing about that too is that there was no it was easy to understand why it was happening because it's based off of the slasher flicks, which you don't really have a reason for a lot of these slasher flicks.
Well, a lot of them don't really have any hard, there's no hard story to them.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before. It's just, Jason's going around terrorizing because he's Jason.
Yep, and it's all about the kills.
Yeah, and that's kind of why that one stands out. It's easy to really do that one quality. Yeah. So, any last thoughts, you guys?
Nope.
All right. All right. So, guys, thank you for joining us. Lynn, say goodbyes.
All right, guys. Thank you. Like Sean says, we'll catch you on Thursday for the podcast. You can join us through Spreaker.com if you want to listen to us live, or you can catch us on iTunes or Google Play and what have you. But yep, that's it for me.
Brandon?
What that guy said, but from me.
All right, guys. So stay tuned. Thursday, we got our podcast. We're going to be talking about a few things that are going on right now in games and in movies. One specifically, the Last Jedi trailer.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen, my friend. Not watching it.
But join us again next week. I think next week we're going to be doing Night of the Living Deb. Brendan is really excited for that one. He jumped when I said that. So we'll be doing that next week. Stay tuned for all of our stuff that we're doing live. And for the other guys, thank you for joining us.